Wait a minute. What happens to the panel of peril in the future? What, do we become assholes or something?
Yes, but Diabolical Podcast turns out fine. It's the spoilers, Marty. Something's got to be done about the spoilers.
You are listening to Diabolical Evil Schemes Done Better, the podcast where four long-suffering friends dissect film's most dastardly schemes, then try to improve them. I'm Adam, and this week we shall be competing to improve the villainous scheme of Biff in Back to the Future Part 2 in another special guest episode. Woo. So, stick a banana skin in the flux capacitor and try to avoid your future self. And let's get diabolical. Welcome to this week's episode, and we'll start by welcoming our special guest, host of NostalgiaCast, Darin Lundberg. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. Holy cow, this is intimidating.
It's been a long time coming. We started talking about this months ago, right?
Right. And then I was just very, very slow on the uptick trying to figure out a villain to talk about because you guys had covered all the villain. Like, damn it. Every time, damn it. Yeah. Like Batman, The Dark Knight, and Serenity.
120 episodes in.
Yeah, every single one. I was like, they covered that one already. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Darin, how have you been enjoying your hoverboard for the past 9 years?
Shh. You're not supposed to know that those are real, right? We're supposed to be keeping them. They get me places, just have to put fake wheels on them, and make sure that, like in Star Wars, I fudge it out with Vaseline, so people.
Translucent wheels, translucent wheels.
That's right. Yeah, it's pink. There's no other color besides pink. That's the thing that's... But, I'm comfortable enough in my masculinity.
Yeah. Is this like Mandela effect or April Fools that I'm misremembering? Or was there a push like a decade or so ago where they thought they were really honestly trying to make hoverboards? I feel like they were
they released that item that's called a hoverboard, which is clearly just a wheel either side of a board.
It's not.
It's a differently wheeled skateboard, isn't it?
Just ignore the wheels.
Decided to call a hoverboard, but I don't know about the
actual.
Yeah.
The idea that I read about was magnets of the same poles, kind of pushing the board up. But I imagine that would require quite large magnets and quite a lot of skill to pilot.
You'd have to dig up every road.
We're like 9 years past 2015, though. You think they could have come up with that or a flying car or two? Come on, man! These future movies are nothing but lies.
Yeah.
Well, they have started taxi, haven't they? Flying taxis. You can get them in some cities. They're trialing them at the moment.
Oh, really? Is that a helicopter, though?
Yeah.
I mean, I either read or heard Robert Zemeckis saying that they intentionally didn't go with any of the advice that they got from experts on what 2015 would be like. Instead, they were just like, well, we have to have stuff that's fun, like
Make
flying
fun,
cars. Yeah, which is cool. I'm glad they did that stuff. I think it's helped it to not date, actually.
There's still quite a bit that they did get right, for sure.
Yeah. Like cafes where Michael Jackson served you.
Reagan and the Ayatollah.
Which ties into nostalgia.
Right.
It's basically the opposite of Minority Report, right? Spielberg made sure that he talked to futurists and things. So this is the opposite of that.
Yeah, but also we're still yet to see those cool, maglev cars from Minority Report that
nothing.
Feel they could do that.
Fine. I don't think I would enjoy that experience at all.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to get outside them and ride on the top like the Cruiser did. Sit inside. You're
okay. Being chased because you're being accused of a future crime. You have to.
Yeah. Future crime.
Next, my colleague Ben, who should be slurping from a container of water over there.
Did you predict this correctly?
Over there. Thank you. We'll ask our special guest several questions.
So, Darin, this is the part of the show where we ask our guests some very scientifically determined questions to find out just how diabolical they are.
Oh, boy.
Like a Rorschach test, please answer honestly with the first thing that pops into your head.
Okay.
John Hughes or John Carpenter?
John Carpenter.
Yes. That's the correct answer.
Happy days.
Hard agree.
A lot less problematic, and then when he's problematic, he leans into how problematic he is.
Do you have a favourite Carpenter movie?
Well, there's a difference between favorite and best. My favorite is Halloween because that's the movie that I watched that after I'd seen Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, all the ripoffs, and so I wasn't excited to see it. And then watching Halloween was like an eye-opener because it's like, oh, they can be artistic. They're not just cheap gore things. They can build suspense. And so I fell in love with the Steadicam and everything. Halloween's a very formative movie for me. But his best, I think, is The Thing. I think that's where everything just... Oh my gosh, like at different levels. Like Halloween is like a two-dimensional movie. There's nothing really deep about it. It's just greatly, perfectly made. But I think The Thing is like next level, like masterpiece. Yeah. Talking about paranoia and things like that and can't trust anybody. It's just masterful stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for Big Trouble in Little China, I must say.
Oh, yeah, I think maybe that's my third or fourth. That's a good one.
Yeah, I really like Christine as well. But yeah, The Thing is
and the fog.
Oh. We could just list everything, couldn't we? Let's just keep.
Well, everything before what was They Live? I think They Live was the Oh no, In the Mouth of Madness.
88, wasn't it?
Yeah,
In the Mouth of Madness is really good as well. Yeah.
Everything after Madness. Let's not talk about those.
I have a soft spot for Escape from LA. I don't care what
anybody
says.
It's fun.
I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah, the Deathly Basketball Game, Chef's Kiss.
People are reclaiming Ghost of Mars, aren't they? It's becoming popular now.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Don't do that.
It is. There's like a little brewing online community of fans.
Okay.
VHS or DVD?
DVD. I don't know. I like the special features and the commentary tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
VHS. I remember VHS. There was a copy of Dead Man Walking that was a regular, like a widescreen VHS, but then they had a separate tape that was the same movie, but with Tim Robbins talking about. That was the first like VHS that you could listen to a commentary. I remember owning that one, but that's interesting. A lot more interactivity with DVDs, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never had it, but I remember seeing it.
I don't know if they did any others, but that was a.
I think so. I remember seeing a few. They were kind of specialist. You had to order them here. Like they wouldn't be in like a UK store.
Well, I did Men Walking and not The Thing. I don't know, but
yeah.
Gizmo or E.T.?
Oh boy, E.T. I have to go with E.T. because Elliot was me growing up. Like that was, I didn't have very many friends. I only talked to Star Wars kids, and I would have characters, and I would have loved to have just one friend, just one friend that I could have adventures with and ride my bike with, but I didn't. So that's the ooey gooey answer, but I can't.
Sorry, I just missed a part of the question out there. Which one would you have put down first?
Oh, which one? Well, we have to go with Gizmo then, right? Just because he's so much trouble. Like you can't take him out in the rain. You can't like feed it. Like again, how do you know what time it is? Like if it's 11 o'clock, is it 12 o'clock somewhere in the world? It's just, Gizmo's too much of a hassle. Just punt him.
Just punt him.
I mean, the evidence of the movies doesn't back this up, but my instinct is that Gizmo would be easier to kill. I mean, obviously, E.T. comes the closest to death. But I think if I had to kill one of them just without any support, I could kill Gizmo.
But E.T.'s got a lot of neck to throttle.
Yeah.
Decapitate.
There's a lot of neck. A lot of neck on E.T. to put your hands around.
I've got a hatchet in my garage. It'll do the job with E.T.
Either way.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay,
just
Rambo's
open Gizmo
bow.
up and start pulling all the stuffing out. That's how you do it.
Rambo's bow or Conan's sword?
Rambo's bow. Whoa, you could have fixed so many things with that, like grenades, like you can deliver food, into like downtrodden countries, things like that. So many more things you could do with that than the sword.
Love letters.
Yeah, love anything. Just through windows.
A chicken in Hot Shots.
That's right. That's right. Blow up helicopters with it. You can't blow up a helicopter with a sword. Come on.
No. It's a good-looking sword, though. It's a nice
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to lift it, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Just drag it on the floor behind you like Pyramid Head.
That's right.
Right, pick a sidekick. Sloth or Falcor?
Falcor. He could fly. Other than just have, Sloth just has the Superman shirt, right? What can you do with that? Like nothing. You can't take Sloth. Yeah. Everywhere you take him, people scream. Falcor, you can just chase bullies. You could visit other lands.
And then you can sleep within his when he's curled up. You can sleep with him in as well.
Yeah, he's cuddly.
I don't think many bullies will be coming near you with Sloth. To be fair,
you never see Falcor begging for like candy, though, do you? Like Sloth.
No,
that's true.
No.
Falcor's self-sustaining. It's like a dog as opposed to a cat. No, it's like a cat as opposed to a dog. So if you want a cat, like you never have to take care of it; it'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
I once made a Falcor for Halloween. It was a cardboard box that I could step into, but the face looked quite real. And I made it with real fur.
Oh, nice.
And we went out. I was Sebastian. I had the wig and the medallion, and then I had the Falcor around me. And,
that's awesome. Did Falcor come with like those little weird pustule scales?
I did not make those. I did make some. I did draw some kind of shiny scales on, but it was back in the day when you could smoke indoors, and I was at a party, and so the fur got quite smoky, and I thought, well, there's not much more I just have to get rid of it. And I think someone spilled beer on it as well, so I had to get rid of it. So I was stomping it down to get it in the bin. And my kids woke up and saw someone stomping Falcor. Daddy, no! All right. You're trapped in a Saturday morning cartoon. What's your role on the team?
I am... Let's see. What is Bumblebee's just the scout, right? I'll be Bumblebee. I'll be the guy that just goes out and like tries to find Decepticons or where Energon cubes are, stuff like that. I could be the go-to guy. That's what I'm best at. I'm best at just being told what to do.
Right.
Until you said Decepticons, I wasn't sure if you meant Bumblebee from DC Superhero Girls.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well,
she's great
in
Teen Titans. My kids watch Teen Titans, and
right.
she's so funny at that.
Yeah, that's right. No, not quite. I didn't grow up. Teen Titans is like relatively new as opposed to I'm old, so Transformers is more in my venue.
Yeah, I only watched that because of my kids.
I watched it because I'm a big nerd.
Yeah. Well, Teen Titans is great still. So
yeah.
Okay, you're curating a drive-in double feature. What movies are on your bill?
Oh, let's do... I'm always a fan of doing Batman and Robin and then Batman Begins as like a double bill, just to see the difference in quality or what we expected or what, 90s versus like 2000s comic book movies. I just think it would be a riot because, that's like a real... You're jerked around. That's like you're getting whiplash from the tonal differences in those movies, right?
Yeah.
So I just think that'd be great. Like you could also go from Batman and Robin to Batman versus Superman and like kill people, I guess. I don't know. That would just break people's necks.
Yeah. I mean, some of the guys that Arnie froze shouldn't really have survived. I'm not sure how they did.
Who was it that said you're not a fan of the big giant plastic dildos?
Oh, that was me, I think.
The frozen icicles?
The icicles, yeah.
The door opens, you can see them shake. Like, they didn't really care about a lot of them.
Yeah, for a film with a big budget and what looks like a lot of care, that was careless.
Yeah.
Right, for the chance to experience your favourite movie again as if it were the first time, all you have to do is steal candy from a child. What do you do?
Kids... to get candy all the time, like that stuff. There's no, I have no qualms of stealing candy at all from a kid. Like, get some more, kid.
Never found a single person yet who would not do that.
Yeah,
come on.
And always the justification is kids get too much candy already.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever do find, just click them off with wrong answer, and then just don't ever have them.
I took some sweets out of my daughter's room just today.
Dad, I thought I had 800 grams. There's only 6. Like, I don't know what happened to them. Like, keep better track of your candy.
I did do some hoovering, so accidents happen.
There's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going. In the original Willy Wonka's psychedelic boat scene, we see a chicken lose its head. In your opinion, what is the take-home message there?
Without candy... You're just no. With candy, you're just running around like a chicken with its head cut off. I guess like you're just like it's just it's all the glucose that's getting to your head. So
right. I always thought it was don't fuck with Wonka.
Yeah,
that too. Either way.
And finally, who needs taking down a peg or two?
Oh, that's easy, my kids. And I'll just do that by stealing all the candy, right?
Yes.
I work hard for you. I feed you. I clothe you. Like, come on. Show some respect. Well, I'm really anti-kid. I'm sorry. That's painting a good picture of me.
All right. Well, I'm totting up the results there.
All right.
It's a very scientific process. And I think for your dastardly pairing of Batman and Robin and Batman Begins... your willingness to steal children's candy and your willingness to take your kids down a peg or two, we're going to get 11 florets
Whoa.
of evil broccoli. It's a very respectable score.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you. How does that rank against anybody else? Like
we
Jesse?
don't know.
We don't know.
We'll just say it's the highest. It's the highest.
It's at the top end for sure.
It's the top end.
Yeah.
I think Jesse Hawken was fairly... I don't think he was very evil, was he, Jesse Hawken?
Yeah.
Could have been Spectro.
Or, no, Harley was quite evil because
Harley,
he said he knew which kid he would steal the candy off.
Yeah, that was pretty dark. I've got a kid in mind. Where do I sign up?
Jesus. That was
Wow.
That was about the most evil thing I've heard.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't beat that.
Back to the Future Part 2 was released in the UK on the 24th of November 1989 and was directed by Robert Zemeckis and produced by Steven Spielberg. It stars Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly and Christopher Lloyd as the eccentric Doc Brown. The story picks up immediately after the first film, with Marty and Doc travelling to the year 2015, or the far-flung future, to prevent Marty's future son from making a disastrous mistake. However, when they inadvertently alter the past, they return to a corrupted 1985. The film explores alternate timelines, paradoxes, and the consequences of meddling with the future. With a budget of $40 million, it grossed over $331 million globally. Back to the Future Part 2 received positive reviews, with Roger Ebert awarding it 3 out of 4 stars, praising its imaginative storyline and engaging performances. As a piece of pop culture, it's a film and franchise that has few contemporaries and has influenced many time travel films that have followed. Most notably, heavily influencing animated TV show Rick and Morty, which is originally going to be called The Real Animated Adventures of Doc and Marty. However, what do we and our special guest think of the film? Darin, why did you select Back to the Future Part 2?
And did you? Did you jump or were you pushed?
Well, again, Craig mentioned it off air. Like, we've been planning this for months, and like I couldn't settle on a bad guy. And then just one day, I had Back to the Future 3 on, and I was like, I really love Mad Dog Tannen. Let's talk about that. And so when I reached out, Craig was like, well, he doesn't really have much of a plan, right? He's just an outlaw trying to shoot things or eat breakfast. How about we do like part 2? Like, that Biff has a much better. And I was like, you know what? That's really interesting because he has the whole, the Donald Trump tie-in.
Craig, why did you choose Back to the Future Part 2?
Right. And then it's odder too because on Twitter yesterday there are just a bunch of things. Oh, yesterday was the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's weird.
Shit.
Like, how does that's really interesting. But again, I just thought, that was a much better idea, a much better plan to kind of focus on. So.
Yeah, I really love Mad Dog or Buford Tannen as well. I am a big fan of Part 3. Mainly the train sequence at the end, I must admit. But he's not really proactive, is he? He's kind of quite passive as a villain. I think he wants to steal Clara's hand, but he doesn't really try to. He just wants to. He knows he wants to, but he has no idea how.
It's just an in the moment thing.
Yeah.
If we made it Get Breakfast, I could come up with some ideas for that.
Sure.
I come up with plans for that every day.
But I think Biff in Back to the Future Part 2, really separate from Biff in Part 1 and from Griff and from Buford, actually has some kind of guile and, an idea. He has a clear vision for what he wants to do. So, yeah, I did steer you a little bit, but
which
I
is
think
fine.
We're gonna cover pretty much the franchise, I think, as we discuss it.
Well, it's like you said, like Biff in the first one's just a bully. There's nothing really to him, right? He just exists to get punched out or make George McFly. And then Buford, that's my favorite Tom Wilson performance in the whole trilogy. He's just so funny, and the way he bounces off his cronies, and he's actually a threat when he's strangling Marty. It's like, this is real. Like he's not just a goofball. And so, but again, he's just in the moment. Let's do this because, let's do that because. He doesn't have a grand plan. It's like you said, Craig, this Biff, the Trump Biff, as we'll call him, has more of a grand idea of what he's trying to accomplish and who he's trying to be. So it's a much better. Yeah. So you pushed me, but I was like, oh, I'm glad to be pushed on on this.
Good, I'm glad.
Was he actually at the time based on Trump? Because looking at it now,
it feels
in
like
the year 2024, it's very, very clear, isn't it?
Yeah, well, his hair, certainly, and the Trump chain of hotels, I think, was already a thing.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Plus, Trump has always been a cartoon character, and so Wilson playing him as a cartoon in this one, even more than the first one. It really, it's timeless, like we were talking about with the future stuff. Like him playing it that way suits Trump today. So yeah, I think it beautifully works.
Yeah, I remember as a kid and teen, the second part was my favourite, I think, because of the kind of design elements of it. I remember the first time I aired that opinion on Twitter, I got shot down by people saying the first one is clearly the better film. And I thought about it, and I thought, I suppose, on some level it is. But actually, 2 is still my favourite.
Yeah, still for the way it makes you feel, number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like what you said before about your Carpenter picks. There's a difference between the best movie and your favourite movie.
Right.
And out of the trilogy, for me, I think the second part is my favourite.
Well, speaking of nostalgia, we did cover Back to the Future. It's something I didn't want to cover in NostalgiaCast because the whole point was to do like lesser known.
It's too big.
Yeah. But finally doing it was like, oh, we can be nostalgic about movies that we love, which is kind of a no-brainer, right? But Back to the Future, it's probably in my top 5 movies, top 10 movies of all time, just because it's one of the first things that I went crazy about. But I mean, they study the screenplay in college courses, just the way that it's pure setup and payoff, just all the way through. And it's kind of like, even if they have an idea that came later, they would go back to the beginning and like filter in more stuff. So it makes so much more sense. So that's what I mean. Like I get what you're saying, right? Like that Back to the Future is the classic, but 2 is, I can't disagree with you. 2 is probably, I don't know if you guys want me to go into how I feel about 2. It's my least favorite of the trilogy, but so here's the thing, like I get it, like everybody, a lot of people like and Craig, it's the future stuff, right? It's all it's mainly the Pepsi bottle. Yeah.
Hoverboard for me.
Hoverboard. There's a crazy energy to Back to the Future, to part 2, right?
Yeah.
For me, though, it just seems the first Back to the Future is so real. Like, even Biff is a bully, but he's not a cartoon. In this one, it's like everybody turns it up like to a level 11 or 12. Like, they're so cartoonish. And Michael J. Fox is yelling everything. Like, and I don't know, because he'd aged 4 years, if he thought that's what teenagers did. But I don't know. I'm also not. There's 2 things I'm not a fan of with this movie. Number 1, I don't like how it keeps hinting at part 3. Like you see Buford in the thing, or Doc saying, "I want to go back to the Old West," or "I want to study women," and it's like, well, if you're that interested in that stuff, just show me the third one. Why are you taking me an hour and a half to do this? And the other thing, I don't know if this movie started it or maybe Empire Strikes Back started it. Empire Strikes Back did a better job at this, but it's weird that this movie and Pirates of the Caribbean and The Matrix, you know how they shot this one and 3 back to back, which they also did with The Matrix and Pirates. Yeah. There's a weird thing where they introduce like an element to the plot that wasn't there the first time, right? Like in The Matrix, it's Neo can dream. In Pirates of the Caribbean, it's, now Jack's compass actually means something and it takes him places. In this one, it's the chicken thing, which, holy shit, it is so ingrained in Marty that whenever somebody mentions that word, there's literally a score sting and he stops in his tracks. He's like, what did you say? And so it's like, well, where was this if it was such a big deal in the first one, right? So I don't know, like it's what do you guys think about that? It's just, and then again, 2 and 3 function as their own separate movie, the way that The Matrix and Pirates do, and even the Spider-Verse movie that just came out is doing the same thing.
I remember hearing you say that on your Back to the Future episode and having to check that wasn't in the first one because I would have sworn that it was, because it's such, I link it so closely with Marty McFly that I couldn't believe he didn't have a chicken moment in the first one, but it's not there. It is strange.
He does with the drag race, doesn't he? Isn't that the only instance of it in the first film?
Is that in the first one?
They introduced the drag race in this one, talking about how you're going to get in an accident in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one's not in there. Fine. But you're right. It's like, is that more the Mandela effect that you think it is because it's so...
Maybe.
Or am I just thinking of a different film?
When's the one at the lights? No, it's definitely... There is one at the lights, isn't there, when he doesn't go through with the drag race, but I can't remember which part that's in.
That's 3. That's at the very
That's
end.
3. Yeah.
Where he goes backwards.
Okay.
He's got
Yeah.
Jennifer.
That's right.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I learned something today.
So it's all muddled up in there, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like John Mulaney has a bit where he goes off in Back to the Future and how it's, pardon my French here, it's like the whole movie's about a kid that wants to fuck his mom, right? I mean, that's the whole, but it's like, that's not in the movie. But people are convinced. I know people that hate this movie because it's all about incest and they're uncomfortable because Marty wants to sleep with Lorraine. And I'm like, that's not in the movie. I don't know where you're finding that. Like, show me where that is.
They're projecting. I think.
Yeah.
Classic
Because
Greek
he says something
editing.
about a boots.
The Oedipal
That's
complex.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all.
Ostensibly, obviously, he is, almost to a point, affectedly repelled by the idea. Like, he moves away from her. But I suppose you could say that he also does look at her, and especially in part 2, there's the bit where he says, "Mom, you're so big." And I suppose you're supposed to infer from that on some level, seeing her as a teenager, he's obviously seeing her in a different light to what he's seen her before. The great parody of it was the Futurama one where Fry becomes his own grandfather.
Yeah.
His grandmother's so attractive.
Yeah. But that's like a play on it, right? I always thought in the second one that he's just staring because they're so big. Like they're
Yeah. But John Mulaney obviously exaggerating for comic effect, but I suppose there is an underlying element of it in there, certainly from her towards him, this kind of dreamboat who drops into her life with the interesting underpants and everything. It's certainly not on his mind. He's not trying to do that. Definitely not.
He's kind of like, I guess this is the only way, like, she's got the hots for me. This is the only way to do it. But again, the Mulaney thing, we're all in our 40s, right? There's a difference between how we are versus kids now. Kids will watch that Mulaney bit, and again, Mulaney did a bit on Field of Dreams, which is my favorite movie. Ben talking about that, but he did the way he described Field of Dreams, and like, that's funny because it's silly, but there were people that were like, "Oh my gosh, Field of Dreams sucks," and it's like, that's not he's. You know what I mean? Like he's making fun of it, but some people will look at that and go, "Oh, that he means that." They don't get the satire. It seems like
they also, I think, don't get that John Mulaney. He definitely loves Field of Dreams as well.
Yeah.
He's not disparaging it. He's affectionately ribbing it. Is what he's doing.
You have to make fun of the stuff that you love, otherwise, like you guys love each other, but you make fun of each other all the time. It's like,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we love each other, all right. Yeah.
So anyway, I would like the people that really think, like you said, they're projecting. The people that really think there's something in there, I'm like, well, find it for me. And when you don't find anything, I want you to really think about where your life is now. Like, what are you telling me?
Go home and rethink your life.
Yeah, I think the other part of it is that people conflate it a bit with her bestial relationship with Howard the Duck. Which is another one that people like to talk about, isn't it?
Yeah, Leah Thompson's into the skirt and the edge.
Yeah. But we haven't really talked about Back to the Future Part 2 here, I feel.
No, we sort of skirted around it.
Going back to what Craig was saying about it being his favourite of the trilogy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I really, really enjoy how clever it is, sort of going actually into what was then the future, 2015, and diving back into the first film and having the events of the dance in the background. I think it's really clever.
No sequel had done that before, though. That is clever.
No, it's very, very well done as well. Very cleverly done with doubles and actual footage.
Yeah, because those scenes were reshot for this, right?
Somewhere.
So, yeah. And I think that's probably the stretch of the movie that I have the least problems with. I really like that.
Yeah, but by the same token, going back into the first film means to me that you need to have seen the first film, so it doesn't really stand entirely on its own 2 feet as a result.
What sequel really does, though?
Hang on.
The Lost World, Jurassic Park, maybe.
Yeah, we'll go with that. And Ghostbusters 2.
I think The Dark Knight, you could pick up on stuff that wasn't established in Batman Begins, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Probably say that with any Batman film, I reckon, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's just Batman, right?
Yeah.
Land Before Time 2.
No.
Never-ending Story Part 2.
James Bond 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
What's
10.
that? Death Wish?
No, James Bond. Anything.
Oh, Bond. Yeah.
You just don't need to know anything about it.
In terms of design of the film, sort of the central square of town with town hall and everything, it's great. The future version of it, I really, it looks the same, but like sufficiently futured up without being too outlandish. I really like the 80s cafe as well with the wacky writing. It looks like a TV show over here called Funhouse or perhaps Art Attack, that kind of font. Just the design of the different periods of the film is absolutely spot on. They all look distinct, yet recognisably the same place, which I think is a genuine trick to pull off that they do with the plot.
I've got no issues with the design at all. I think with Zemeckis' problem is he's, after Roger Rabbit maybe, I think he was too invested in the technology versus what he's actually saying. Especially with Here, which is just, I don't know if you guys have seen that one yet, if it's out, but it's an interesting way of shooting it, but it's so, the technical stuff is the heart of it, which isn't much of a heart. So
yeah, it's had mixed reviews, hasn't it? Some people love it. I guess it depends. I find, and we have found, especially because we have covered movies on this podcast that we've seen multiple times, sometimes we'll watch a film that we recall having a fondness for, and when we sit down to watch it again, we're not in the right mood to enjoy it. And I think a lot of people have gone into Here cynically because of the Polar Express and just Robert Zemeckis' reputation. I mean, I swear people used to like Forrest Gump. People fucking hate that film now. With a passion. I really enjoyed Castaway and still do. I think that doesn't really the technology aspect of that doesn't really come into it. You know, a lot of it's the location and Tom Hanks's commitment to, you know, his weight loss.
Right.
I think that there is still a filmmaker inside Robert Zemeckis who is all about the heart, and I hope that translates in here once you get past the aging effect. But yeah, I would agree to an extent. I mean, I definitely agree with you that Roger Rabbit is his, you know, masterpiece. That is the best film that he's made.
Right. I'm talking about Carpenter. I think Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the best, but Back to the Future is my favorite. So same. What about the rest of you guys?
Are we all fans of Back to the Future Part 2?
I love it. Yeah, it's my favourite of the trilogy, just for the kind of, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old in me that saw that hoverboard scene for the first time. And if this segues us on to favourite moments, then that's it. It's that hoverboard chase. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the design of the thing as well.
Still looks great. There's tension. You see the technology. The set is so huge, and that's what I really missed this time. Like, there's no CG. It's just a really well done set. A little bit of the matte painting and but even that, you have the car coming in, landing, and it kind of goes past a post, and then you see the real car come down. It's timed to perfection. It was just a lot of really nice practical effects come together to make a really kind of awe-inspiring scene. So I really enjoy this, and I think there's genuine tension as well when Marty's trying to get the almanac and he's just missing out each time. That tension is built really, really well.
I genuinely do think, by the way, that the design of the Pepsi Perfect bottle is amazing design. I think that's really well designed.
It's great.
But it's never been realized, right?
Why not? I don't understand.
I know. Same thing with the hoverboard stuff.
Well, that's technologically impossible, probably, but I think they could engineer a bottle to be like, well, they do. There is one. And I think it looks like, to me, like it has its own cup. Is that what we're getting from that? Marty never opens it, but it looks like it comes with its own cup, which would be cool, right?
Like a thermos, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Well, when was this made? 89, Ben?
89,
This is the Vistaglide stuff, and the way that they're able to double J. Fox and Lloyd and Thompson and Elizabeth Shue on screen. 89, and it looks this seamless. Again, I say Zemeckis leans too much into the technical stuff, but he's really good at the technical stuff. So
obviously interesting.
You're right.
Yeah, that looks great. Actually, I was in Universal Studios in LA a couple of years ago, and you can buy a replica of that hoverboard, and it looks beautiful. Doesn't fly, unfortunately, but it just looks stunning. I think it was at $300, and I was teetering on the edge of getting it.
And it doesn't fly?
Just to hold it under my arm going through the airport.
would say one thing as well. You were talking about how cartoony this gets, and the things that I don't enjoy about it. I don't think the age makeup in this is as good as it was in the first one.
They look like plastic in here.
You talked about this, didn't you, in your episode on Back to the Future?
Yeah.
And Marty McFly, as an old man, doesn't look 47. He looks like 67. And
people looked older in those days.
Yeah.
Like, my gran was sat in a chair from the age of 60 to 75.
I can say Wilford Brimley in Thing is like 47 or 48, isn't he? And he looks about 60.
Yeah.
He looks
that's
younger
true.
in Hard Target over a decade later.
Yeah, that's crazy. But also the bizarre decision to have Michael J. Fox play his own daughter. I think that's the oddest thing.
That I know.
Got a laugh out of me.
Yeah, I chuckled.
Like, it was. I think it was more of a dream fulfilled, wasn't it, for him? I finally get to play a woman on screen.
But if you take this film on its own merit and in its own bubble, that stuff is fun and it's funny.
Yeah.
But as you said, this doesn't really. It's because they go back to the Future, and they tie it intrinsically to the first film, which has a very different tone. That's why it grates for me, because it doesn't line up with that. You have Crispin Glover playing the father in the first one, who we all know about the controversies of him not coming back for the sequel. But he is such a different energy to Michael J. Fox, but he's also believably that guy's dad. Mm-hmm. And you don't get that with this one because Michael J. Fox is playing everyone. And like in the third one, he plays his own ancestor, right?
Seamus
McFly, yeah. And who plays Seamus McFly's wife? Is it?
It's Leah Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
I wonder what it makes you wonder what they would have done if Crispin Glover wasn't such an asshat, and was able to do the second and third. Like, would George McFly have been a bigger part?
Yeah. Well, from what I've heard, it's all their fault, not his. I'm on his side completely.
Okay, I take the asshat comment back then, because they did use his footage without his permission.
Yeah, and his likeness.
I think Richard Lester did that when they split the Musketeer movies into two. It's like, we didn't agree to two movies. You need to pay us for two movies.
Right.
So I take that back. But it's like, I do wonder still, though, what they could have done if Crispin Glover was actually on set. Would it not have been would have been more believable, maybe. I don't know. I've always thought about that.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you as well, because you talked about the other famous thing about the making of Back to the Future being that they recast Marty, and it was originally Eric Stoltz, and the different energy that he brings to that role. Would Back to the Future 2 have existed in its form that it does now if Eric Stoltz had stayed on? And I don't think that it could
Absolutely not. No. There's Eric Stoltz, the way they would describe him. So the part where in the first one where Marty is he gets Lorraine out of the room, like she rushes out because she doesn't want her mom to know that she's in there, and then Marty puts on his pants and falls over. Like Zemeckis wanted that for the comedy, and Eric Stoltz is like, why would I do that? Like, my character would not do that. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, what a method acting is not what we need for Marty McFly. The youthful energy, that sounds so old when I say that, but the energy that Michael J. Fox brings to Marty is what sells it. People loved it. And so he just, I don't know, the way he plays off of Lloyd, and again, it's that, the same thing with Mulaney, how Mulaney says, why does he have this old guy hanging around? It's like, what does it matter? Like, he's his father figure. Like, everything just ties so perfectly. It's just a happy accident. I absolutely do not think this would have I don't think it would have made over $50 million if Stoltz was in the movie. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
There'd been no chemistry with him and Christopher Lloyd, I don't think.
I can't imagine Eric Stoltz doing the giant amplifier explosion at the start of the first one. But I think that scene, surely that explains why they're friends. Marty McFly hangs out with the Doc because the Doc has a big fucking amp and Marty likes playing guitar. That's it, I think.
If you're looking for some basic thing, that makes total sense.
Like, I can imagine him walking past the Doc's garage one day and seeing this huge amp there and saying, "Wow, you got a big amp there," and Doc going, "Oh, you want to have a go at this amp?
You want to touch my amp? You come in here, boy." Wasn't it the same reason why you started hanging out with Gaz? Because he had the turtles.
Darin mentioned about there being like a bit OTT, and it turned up to 11. I think they knew how successful the first one was. and they just thought, let's really go to town on these two and just do whatever we want. And Michael J. Fox was a huge star then, and all that. And yeah, I'm not sure which one's my favourite. It's either this one or the first one, but I do love how clever this is, and that you can't really, once you're in it, you can't take your eyes off it. You have to watch all the way through. It just sucks you right in, and then there's enough to keep you going all the way through. It's relentless. It's really good. It's really, really good.
Just the last thing, I just thought it was interesting that it's so over the top, but then in 3, it does start really over the top, but then by the time they get to the Old West, it really settles down, and they really focus on the Clara Dock. And again, the stuff with Buford is not cartoonish at all. Like, literally the part where he loses count when they're during the last part, and he has to look at his friends who holds up 7. It's like, that's really funny. It's not cartoonish. It's really witty. Yeah. So it's interesting that this one's so up in the rafters, you know what I mean? And then it staves off. So maybe that's why I like the third one a little bit more than this one.
It's weird because they didn't film them in sequence at all, right? They filmed 3 and 2 really simultaneously. They were filming scenes from 3, filming scenes from 2 the following day.
Yeah. Can you imagine what a logistical nightmare that would have been?
Right. So props to Zemeckis for that. I know you said that you didn't enjoy the foreshadowing of part 3. The one bit of foreshadowing I do like is the Wild Gunman arcade game where you see Marty's a crack shot, and
that works.
I think that's quite nice.
Good one, isn't it? So,
that works so well. I didn't even think about that. That's how well that one works.
Yeah. Oh, and Elijah Wood is a little kid on the arcade machine.
That's crazy. That
That's a baby's toy. Yeah.
Elijah Wood and Flea as well. 2 cameos.
Flea,
I was like, wow.
The most egregious nod to part 3 is the literal trailer for it at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, God. People complain about MCU post-credit stuff. That is awful. Like, basically, they showed a whole film.
Right. Well, it kind of feels like a con when you're watching it, I think.
Yeah. But saying that, I remember going to see Back to the Future Part 2 in the cinema.
Yeah.
And we had a lovely old cinema here where we live. Big auditorium, couple of 100 people, velvet curtains that opened to show the screen, big screen. And I obviously back in those days there was no internet. I had no idea that there was another film coming very, very soon, and it blew my little mind to see a trailer for the next film.
Fair enough.
Instantly.
In hindsight,
it was quite the thing. I remember excitedly telling everybody in school, "There's another one coming. There's another one."
I don't think Universal was ready for that either. I think Zemeckis and Gale came to them and said, "Hey, we're doing 2 and 3," and they were like, "What?" And so it is kind of groundbreaking in that way too. I don't think they'd done that kind of thing before. So
it's pretty bold, isn't it? Putting all your eggs into one basket. You'd assume it's going to be a big hit, but I suppose there's no guarantees with film, is there?
Yeah.
But it worked.
Are we doing fave sequences now?
Fave sequences. Just let's fly on into it. The banter's flowing, so...
Who are we doing?
Whoever.
We're normally much better organised than this. Normally,
I was just because we've just been talking so much that and then Ben previously mentioned his, so I just thought it was all going to flow into one continuous.
Don't blame me for this.
No, you were mistaken, weren't you?
Yeah, so formulaic. Come on, I'm much more ad hoc.
That's why you add Adam Hock, isn't that your middle name?
Adam Hock. Yeah.
Oh snap!
Yeah. There you go.
My favourite sequence, and I also think this is quite daft if you sit and think about it, but it's great, is on the roof when Biff is threatening Marty with the gun, and it gives him the option to either jump to his supposed death or to be shot, and he is shocked to see that Marty does jump, and then he goes kind of to investigate, what's going on, and of course Marty rises up, seemingly floating, and then turns out he's on the hood of the DeLorean, and the door opens and knocks Biff out. But it's a bit risky, that, isn't it? Not the jump and the DeLorean and everything, but Biff's still got a gun. What if Marty rises up on the DeLorean and Biff just shoots him?
Straight between the eyes, yeah.
I think it was mostly just depending on Biff just being so dumb and dumbfounded. Like
Yeah. Hopefully he'll be shocked enough that he won't have an itchy trigger finger.
That's right.
But yeah, it's so well pulled off, that sequence. Really well done.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with quite a small moment, which is just the hologram of Jaws appearing
Yes.
from the cinema hoarding.
Jaws 19.
Yeah, directed by Max Spielberg.
Right.
This time it's really, really personal. I don't know what it is. You'll see when we come to favourite lines as well. Just little weird things freaked me out about this film, and that bad hologram shark really freaked me out. I've always had a thing about sharks.
Yeah.
And yeah, even as cartoony a creation as that, really put the willies at me.
Not for the first time.
I'm just going to jump in with a very small one. A very, very small one.
That's what she said.
When they're in Marty's future house, they look at the wedding photo and Marty's wearing a tuxedo t-shirt. Amazing.
Adam, what about you?
It's badass Strickland when he goes to his house and he comes out with a gun and all that. I just love that.
Lead slackers.
Yes, so good, Lloyd.
That is great.
So good.
Yeah. Well, I think, Craig, you kind of stole mine. That is my favorite part. But not just... I think it's funny, first of all, that when you look at the DeLorean's door open, it opens really slow. So how did they get Biff in the face? But my favorite part is literally that. When he jumps in, he's like, Doc, you're never going to believe this. We got to go back to 1955. I don't believe it. And they spin, and the Back to the Future theme goes like, okay, now we're getting into it. So that's my favorite part. And then the rest of the movie I do enjoy after that. So, yeah, really, that's a good crowd-pleasing moment, I think.
That is great. If I would have had to pick another one, if you'd gone first, I think the sequence... from the time the DeLorean gets hit by lightning and the tracks in the air, the tracks that normally are fire that are normally on the road spin in the air, and then Marty thinks that he's stranded, and then out of nowhere the car comes up in the rain and the guy gets out and he's threatening at first. You don't know who he is,
right?
And then
I've got something for you.
Yeah, it's so cool and clever. It's like almost reminded me of something from like a classic movie. I think it's supposed meant to evoke that kind of thing, but yeah, just really well pulled off and memorable.
Yeah,
it's sad that the two-tie fashion never caught on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
It's genuinely sad that Power Lace Nikes are hard to get because they're so cool.
Yeah, those are good.
Beautiful
Lovely.
shoes.
Tough to keep clean, though, I would imagine.
Oh, you got to keep one of those
white Nikes.
One of those. Do you remember you used to get like a Pritt stick, but it was for cleaning your white shoes? Just like a polished stick.
Oh yeah.
I had loads of those.
We're on to favourite lines, then. We'll start with you, Darin.
Well, let's do... I like the line for... I have two. It's either the McFly, like being half Chinese. I really thought that was funny. But I don't know. You're talking about lines that just hit you. The line that always cracks me up is when Marty finds out about the future Biff and the future world. And he goes and meets Doc again. And he's like, I can't, like, this is like, I don't know if this is Hell Valley, Doc. It seems like it's hell or something. And Doc goes, no, Marty, it's Hill Valley. Although I can't imagine hell being much worse. I really like that. I think that's really funny. Lloyd's delivery of that line is just really, really good.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay, next, go for
my
Gaz.
favourite. Oh, you're going Gaz, sorry.
Yeah, shut up.
Hey,
I thought you were leaving it open.
stow it, then. Jesus, wait it in.
Just wait. There's a dramatic pause, and we'll go next.
Well, it's kind of half been taken by Darin already, but I do really love the boss just absolutely bellowing McFly, just absolutely terrifying to me. If that guy was my boss, I would not put a foot out of line at any point. It's just like absolutely pants-shittingly scary for me. And the fact that it's instant as well, the second that he's given Needles the information that he needs to embezzle money, is it, that they're doing? A very, very scary man with a very, very scary line delivery.
Right. Could you back up a bit, boss? You're too close to the
Right, Ben, seeing as you're so eager.
My favourite line is where Biff has been eavesdropping on Marty and Doc, and he comes out and he goes, "So Doc Brown invented a time machine." It's so arch.
Not the brightest bulb in the box, is he?
No.
Craig?
at the back of that great sequence I was talking about, and just because it really feels like a moment that invigorates me whenever I see it. But it's when the Western Union postal guy asks Marty, "You need any help, kid?" And he says, "There's only one man who can help me." And yeah, some adrenaline kicks into me every time I hear that line.
That's true.
Yeah.
As for me, it's like it's not from the movie. It's the bit from the movie where he says, "Oh, we gotta to the future. It's your kids, Marty," and it's like it just reminds me of the Family Guy sketch. And it's like, "You gotta go to sort your kids. And your daughter, she marries a black man," and it's just like that. So I just love that bit because it always reminds me of that sketch. So. Yeah.
I had a question. The roads where we're going, we don't need roads. Is that in the first one as well? Or
Yes.
Is that just
Yes, at the end of the first one. Yeah.
That's the final line of the first one, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But they never even planned on making 2 and 3, so that's a joke.
Right.
The way they added the to be continued for VHS, I think.
Okay.
Right. I remember they said that if they knew they were going to do a sequel, they wouldn't have put Jennifer in the car,
Right, in the car.
which is why they try and quickly write her out.
Knock her out straight away and shove her in a cupboard. And...
I also like the old age makeup on Doc. I'm going to take this off. I'm not going to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I got surgery, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. Like you said, it is like in Inglourious Bastards, for example. Although I think it's a bit more eloquently done in that, where halfway through the scene of German and French dialogue, he says, "I'm going to speak in English now," and it's for the audience.
Yeah.
Does he look into the camera in that?
What, in Inglourious Bastards? All right, let's see if I can get through this promo. I can't, as far as I know, can't do Doc Brown.
Yes,
So
you
I'm
can.
just
You
gonna
do.
I'm gonna
You
do
do.
Richard.
You can. You do a good.
I'm going to
you
do
a good impression.
Nixon.
Great Scott! If you're enjoying our podcast, please like, follow, and if possible, leave us a written review. We don't need roads where we're going. Your support is the fuel to our flux capacitor in our attempt to reach 88 reviews per hour. So, don't be chicken. Leave us that review in the near future.
Excellent.
Haru.
Just as I imagined it. Thank you.
Nobody calls me chicken.
I am not a chicken.
That was a really good Nixon / Doc Brown.
That was brilliant. Uncle Fester.
That was very
Uncle
good.
Fester.
I knew I'd heard you do it.
I just love Billy West's description of how he does Nixon is that he imagines that Nixon could turn into a werewolf at any moment.
In Back to the Future Part 2, Marty McFly and Doc Brown travel to the year 2015 to prevent a disaster in Marty's family. During their visit, Marty encounters an older version of Biff Tannen, who discovers Doc's DeLorean time machine and steals a sports almanac Marty brought along, filled with future sports results. Biff returns to 1955 and uses the almanac to make himself rich and powerful, creating a dark, alternate timeline. However, Marty and Doc track him down and manage to retrieve the almanac in 1955, ultimately destroying it and restoring the original timeline. Darin, what did you think of Biff's plan, and where did he go wrong?
Well, it's like we talked about before. This is Biff at his most dastardly, right, or diabolical. Tied in with your.
Yeah.
He's not just a bully. He's not just an outlaw. He's really got. I'm gonna steal this almanac. I'm gonna figure out how to get in the DeLorean. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna give it to my future self. Here, make as many bets as you can. Watch out. Make sure a scientist or a little kid doesn't come talking about it. Make sure you get rid of them. That kind of thing. And I think in a deleted scene, like he comes back and then he disappears or he dies because in some future timeline Lorraine had shot him or something. But other than that, I think it's really an ingenious plan to make yourself. Biff is so selfish and so self-centered, and it works out in his favor in the end, that I think it's, for this movie, I think it works brilliantly. And again, we'll get to it when we talk about the alternate plan, but it's like I think Biff is just not smart enough to keep it going all the way through. I think that's where he went wrong.
Yeah. He's punching above his weight, isn't he?
Exactly. But you know what I mean? For this movie, I think it's beautifully, for him, it works.
Yeah, it's a smart plan for a guy who before this doesn't seem that smart, you know.
Right.
But I think he's so under the radar and low key as the slave car washer of the McFly family. You know, the oppressed guy who they beat up 40 years ago or whatever, 30 years ago. That nobody sees his plotting. He's kind of like one of those Shakespearean characters in the background rubbing his hands together.
Right. Kind of a dumb Iago.
Yeah. Iago, but the parrot one.
Right.
Jafar's psychic.
And this is like the absolute pinnacle that he could come up with, you think, based on his intelligence. He's like absolutely, he's having a really good day when he's come up with this plan.
Well, it's also, Craig, like you said, maybe he's had time to build on this, his seething rage.
Right. But he's also come up with the fail-safe that you think you'd expect to work. You know, if the Doc or Marty comes asking about it, just kill him. Don't ask questions, just kill him. Yeah. And you'd think that you'd be able to follow that. But unfortunately, that fail-safe doesn't work out.
Well, I think he's not careful enough with that fail-safe. Do you ever see the Red Dwarf episode where Lister is talking about a guy who was rich and famous who invented a thing called a tension sheet? And it's just packing paper painted red, And he finds a way to travel in time, so he decides to go back in time and tell his younger self to invent this thing. And he just tells him what it is. Just, you get packing paper and paint it red. And so he becomes rich and famous, but then Rimmer is so upset that Lister's gone, that he decides to do the same thing, and he goes back to his young self when he's a Boy Scout, and tells himself, and he goes into the bedroom of these Boy Scouts at night, and his young self is such a wimp that he wears boxing gloves to bed to stop himself from scratching himself. And he's going, you get packing paper and you paint it red. And the kid in the next bed is the kid who actually really invented it originally. So what Rimmer does is he undoes all the changes to the timeline because he's not careful. And I think that's Biff's problem. He's not careful enough to make sure that the timeline he creates remains the timeline forever.
Right.
Not so great at 3D chess, Biff.
Yes, that's it. That's the problem. He's playing whatever that stupid fucking Fog of War video game Elon Musk thinks is smarter than chess.
Yes. So for those reasons, I'm giving Biff, who's operating at the actual pinnacle of his intelligence, I'm giving him 9 florets of broccoli.
It's 9.
Not bad at all. Well, I got 11 florets for my diabolical quiz. As long as I'm better than Biff, that's great.
I'm saying you're more intelligent than Biff.
Yeah, well, that's
more coherent.
That's a great compliment. Thank you, Ben. I really appreciate that.
That's why every guest goes away with something from this podcast.
I needed to hear I'm smarter than Biff. Thank you.
I think Gaz, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, a lot of good points made by each and every one of you there. I wasn't nipping to the loo or anything like that.
Is that the most British thing you've ever heard, by the way? Nipping to the loo?
No, I've heard that before. It's great. I would think it's too British if I haven't heard of it before. So.
Yeah.
It's universal.
I think it's quite opportunistic, isn't it? It's quite good in that regard. He sees like a massive opportunity, and he seizes upon it, and he does like quite a good job of telling his younger self of what to do. But then there's one really big mistake that he does make, which I will address in my plan.
Right. There's foreshadowing, Zemeckis. Take heed.
But besides that, I think it's a pretty good plan. Who among us probably wouldn't do that if we had the chance to win the lottery or win the sports betting?
Yeah, I think for a car detailer, he's quite a inventive chap, isn't he? Not saying car detailers are dim.
No.
Or anything.
You heard it here first, folks.
Last time it was truck drivers, the serial killers.
Yeah.
Now it's
They are. Yeah, but I'm sure most car detailers earn more than me an hour anyway. So, you know, who's the biggest moron there? Me.
Yeah.
So, but I think if he took the DeLorean back to 1955, why didn't he just fly it back up and away, and then just fly off and crash it into the sea and just blow it up himself?
Good point.
Yeah, stop foreshadowing too much.
No. Because he's just dropping it back off. He could have really fucked them, couldn't he?
When he gets out of the DeLorean, when he returns to the present, he looks like he's about to have a cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
So
that's what I meant about the deleted scene. In the deleted scene, he was shot.
Oh, I see. That's why he's grasped. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I think you might have just ruined Ben's plan. But let's.
Yeah, almost certainly.
He's probably ruined it himself, to be fair.
And I started thinking about the timeline stuff, and my head just started hurting, so I kind of gave it up.
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
There's too many implications, way too many implications, so I just left it alone.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to make fun of your accents, but I was just really trying to be one of you. Right there.
No, go for it.
You can pretend if you like, it's fine.
It's one of the best British accents I've heard from
Pretty
America.
good, yeah.
Oh, all right, okay.
It's up there with Van Dyke.
Nothing but compliments. I'm really enjoying this so far.
We should change the podcast name to that, actually.
Nothing but compliments.
Nothing but compliments.
We'll do a little theme tune for it. Nothing but compliments.
This is the part of the show where the panel of Peril compete for the title of Most Diabolical. We will each vote for our favourite, and at the end, the person with the most votes will be crowned the winner of this special episode. But do remember, you cannot vote for yourself, you saucy babies. Our task this week is to help Biff retain the almanac, enabling him to get rich quick and change the timeline in his own favour. So, let's do this! And our special guest can begin first.
Well, I got to say, this is an intimidating podcast to be on. This is such a cool idea. I just wanted to say that. But there's no way. I was like, there's no way I can be as eloquent as these guys. And so that's why I was listening to all your guest episodes. It's like, how did they do it? And so yeah, I've just got to exactly. So all I came up with, again, Biff is not the best. He's not the smartest guy. He can't even say make like a tree and leave, right? He can't even do that. So my idea, I would just imagine Biff, like being Biff, he would come up with like a checklist, right? Like as soon as he finds out I'm going to go back in time, he would do a checklist of things to make sure. So I've titled this Biff Tannen's 12-step plan to become King of Hill Valley. Step 1, take the almanac to the track. Get rich by making lots of bets and making lots of money. Step 2, date famous women. Step 3, found Biffco Enterprises, named after me, Biff Tannen. Step 4, invest in toxic waste reclamation. Step 5, bully local politicians into doing what I say. Step 6, realize after Lorraine has her third child with McFly, that butthead, that she's the only one for me. Step 7, buy the Hill Valley Police Department and gain even more power. Step 8, kill McFly, butthead, and use my influence with the police to clear myself of any suspicion. Step 9, give Lorraine time to grieve, a couple of days should do it, then get her to marry me by promising her and the kids wealth and security. Step 10, marry Lorraine and officially become the luckiest man on earth. Step 11, open Pleasure Paradise Casino and live in the lap of luxury, where I belong. Step 12, make sure if that crazy wild-eyed scientist or kid ever asks about the almanac, shoot him immediately instead of monologuing.
I was going to say, it's very similar.
Step 13, maybe don't watch old Clint Eastwood westerns in my jacuzzi where anyone can see in case someone decides to use what they see and go back in time to beat my great-grandfather Buford in a gunfight or get a ravine named after them or something.
It's comprehensive.
So I think it boils down to don't monologue, right?
Yeah, don't monologue. Kill those kids. You killed George, just kill the kids.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of villains could learn from that. Don't monologue.
Yeah.
I mean, that plan could win any episode we've done of the 120 episodes. I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't
But also,
monologue.
like I said, when the kid floats up after jumping off the roof, just shoot him then.
Yeah.
What's he going to do?
He'll die of a gunshot and from heights.
Yeah. Buy a bigger gun.
Yeah, something. Just
Well,
shoot him.
Yeah.
More shots in it. What's he got? A 22, a little shitty revolver.
Yeah. Maybe you guys will have to add an addendum, say, and you can't say, don't monologue.
Yeah. No, I think it's fair. We haven't used it
No,
yet.
it's fair. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep this quiet.
My only question is Biff as a character, as a person, he's quite prone to even talking to himself, doesn't he, at some points? Like when he talks about Doc Brown inventing the time machine. I think it's going to be hard to stop him monologuing. It's a big ask.
Well, he would probably have this checklist up on a wall, right?
Right, okay. written in crayon. Yeah.
That's right.
Fair enough. If he's got the checklist on the wall, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think his plan goes really well right up until the point when he doesn't instantly kill Marty for some reason.
Doesn't do the thing he's been told to do. Yeah.
Yeah, explicitly told to do, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
But he's in his nice big building, and he's overconfident as always. Complacency plays a massive part in that as always.
My favourite thing about it is Marty says to him, "First, tell me where and when you got that almanac," and he's like, "All right, can't see any harm in this.
I'll remove it from my safe and wave it in your face."
I'll tell you just before I shoot you."
Yeah.
His response to that should just be, "No."
Yeah. Oh, this is what my older self told me about. Bang. That's it.
Or I'll show you what happened. Just look down the barrel of this gun, just here.
All right, let's have a look.
Oh, me eight! Oh, me fucking eight!
Oh no, I've been shot.
Okay, then I'll go next, you buggers. As Biff sits in his bedroom in his grandma's house, staring at the almanac, does he hold his future in his hands? He turns on the radio again, listening for the sports results of the day. Sure enough, the almanac has the results correct, so the weird old man didn't fluke it. With any lingering doubts dispelled, Biff places the almanac in his bedside drawer and lies on his bed for a little nap before the big dance. Only, there's no way he can sleep. His mind is racing with the possibilities. Biff sits bolt upright. He opens the drawer and grabs the almanac. He flicks through the pages, studying the upcoming big sporting events. Yes, there certainly are some big American-style rugby, student American-style rugby, and frozen pond games coming up. Biff tears a piece of paper from one of his many, many unused school notepads and jots down a dozen of the most important ones, the biggest and easiest to remember. It'll be easier than carrying around that almanac, and more discreet too. Kind of an insurance policy. After all, he knows he's a bit of a butthead. Biff then places the note into his bedside drawer and gets ready for the dance, keeping the almanac tucked inside his back pocket so he can examine it a bit more later for any more juicy action in the future. So, regardless of what happens tonight, Biff has retained the secrets of the almanac, or at least enough of them to make Biffco a reality.
Yeah.
So just simply make a note, and then if he wants to later on, he's going to still look at it, and then obviously whatever happens.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he is able to write?
Yes. He's in school. I think he's got
Read
that.
his
He can
own
read.
writing.
He can read the almanac. So
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's a good point, actually. If he's capable of reading the almanac.
But can he recreate the letters using his own hand?
you think he can write?
Yeah.
I think
I wouldn't put him past him that he can read but he can't write. That makes sense.
Yeah. The bedside drawer's a risk, isn't it? Because you could get moths.
No, they're historically in the wardrobes.
Moth larvae.
Weevils.
Silverfish. And
They just leave a silvery residue. They don't do anything.
what about Biff's a teenager at this point, right? Mm-hmm. Where does he put his used tissues? Does they go in the bedside drawer?
Sock.
Under his bed. Under his bed.
In a shoebox under the bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think my problem is that Biff doesn't believe it for the first however long. It takes a while for him to believe the almanac is actually real and that the old man isn't just some kook.
Yeah, that's why he goes back to his room, he turns on the radio, like I just said, and listens to another sports result. And he goes,
okay,
it is. Yeah.
right. Well, you've solved it. That's like a George Lucas one-liner. Well done. Got it all wrapped up there. Let's just wipe their memories. Yeah, right.
So what about the degradation of ink over time?
Is that a concern?
I'm definitely trying to pick a hole in this. It's not going anywhere.
I just remembered the pen he used was a pen full of invisible ink. So when he wrote it was and then when he went to look at it after, you've done me.
But then he uses lemon juice and he can see it whenever he wants. No one else can see it. Your plan's even better if it's invisible ink, actually. Nobody else knows what it is.
He just has to write himself another note saying, please use lemon juice. That's good.
Memo.
But you wrote that in invisible ink.
Okay. Any more questions, please? No? Then we'll have Craig's plan next, please.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoy the eloquence of our plans, Darin. I think you'll enjoy this one. Ass! 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 Sweet ass! Bum bum! Pressed ham! That's right. Where we're going, we don't need trousers. It's crack to the future and back to the passage as we're bombarded with image after image of Biff's body in glorious black and white. And once Biff is happy that he has enough pictures of his own arse, he slides off the copier and makes some photostats of the almanac, which he hides in various locations that Marty would never think to check, which obviously rules out his own mother's ass. What places? It's a secret. But just in case you think Marty might have time to find every photocopy of the almanac before Biff kills him, he also has the pertinent parts of the almanac tattooed onto his pert ass. So there you go. Very similar to Adam.
You could make copies.
But with a photocopier, yeah.
So he's photocopying
the first thing Biff would do
his
with
arse.
The first thing Biff would do with a photocopier is photocopy his arse. But then he's going for the almanac.
Do you reckon he could use? Has he got the requisite intelligence to use a photocopier?
I think so. Yeah, they've been around for a couple of decades by that point.
Right.
I take the eloquence back.
Replace it with smut.
It's knowing how many times to write ass. That's the trick.
It was that pause right before I thought you were done saying ass, and then you said it again. That's what got me, I think.
That's not an accident.
He's been rehearsing that with his partner at home as well. That's the sad thing. She's had to listen to this all week.
Millimetres from her face.
What would you like for dinner this week?
Right.
Ass! But essentially, the same plan, I think. Copying out some of the almanac. Yeah.
Well, I feel sorry for whoever has to follow that up.
So without any further ado, we shall have Ben.
Oh, it's me. Brilliant. I'm gonna be rich, chuckles Biff in the driver's seat of a DeLorean. Rich beyond my wildest dreams. Rich enough to buy 2 canes with shiny little fists on. Rich enough to buy 2 velour leisure tracksuits. Rich enough to buy 2 large breast implants for my wife. Rich enough to buy 2 pitbull hoverboards for my nephew Griff. Rich enough to buy 2 tickets to watch Jaws 19 at the cinema. Okay, says the man in grease-covered overalls, who has been stood there, patiently listening to Biff's pontificating for several uncomfortable minutes. Do you want us to put this old thing through the compactor or what? Biff climbs out of the car and breathes in the cool metallic scrapyard air. Yeah, he says. Put it through twice. I can afford it.
Doubles is best.
So instead of taking it back to Hill Valley, he just goes and scraps it?
Yeah. Hard to fault that logic, actually.
Scraps the car.
After telling the guy his whole plan, he's just, okay.
Yeah. But that was when I started thinking about timelines. I was like, what? That I just gave up. I thought, no, I'm just going to go with it because I don't want to get into timelines.
I don't need to challenge your plan this week, unfortunately, Ben, because Robert Zemeckis has already done it for me. Because what happens when Doc Brown gets stranded in 1888 without the DeLorean is he just makes another time machine.
Son of a bitch.
Can't in the future though, can he? That was the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
no trains in the future.
Then they had the government privatise the railways and fuck the hill for everybody.
Don't need rails where we're going.
Antiquated modes of travel.
So the bit I left out, and I do have it written down, but I just left out, is that after Doc finds out that the car's gone, he immediately has a heart attack. Where's the car, Marty?
But that doesn't happen to him in Back to the Future Part 3 when the same thing happened. That's curious.
Yeah, because that's in the past. He's a bit calmer in the past.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah.
It's in a more stressful situation in the future.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any more questions for Ben?
I thought you were going to say the bit that I forgot to write is that Doc was still in the DeLorean when it got crushed. Great Scott!
Okay, Gaz, will you bring us home, please?
Hello? Hello, genius. I'm you. Old Man Biff from slightly further into the futuristic year of 2015. You had a real good idea to give yourself the Sports Alamanac in 1955 in order to make yourself rich. Real smart move, wise guy. Really, that wasn't supposed to sound sarcastic. Likewise, really smart play you made bringing the DeLorean back for McFly and that old fruit. Superb decision. That part was supposed to sound sarcastic. We were always happier back in the 50s, Biff, weren't we? With our rapey attitudes, which wasn't quite as frowned upon at the time, our cool car, and our ooh-la-la mags. Don't take that damn car back to the future, Tannen, you hear me? The whole plan gets ruined by the aforementioned twosome thanks to you returning that car for some reason, when we could just live out the rest of our days back in the 1950s. There's no chance of them undoing things from there, surely to heaven. Then we can be rich in the new timeline. I can live out my days being a good old-fashioned racist, homophobic asshole in the 1950s, and McFly and his wizened companion can rot in the future, and he will probably soon have a heart attack too.
That's eased all of my concerns.
I like the way that last sentence was clearly written beforehand and not improvised right now.
Yeah. So can you nutshell that plan then, Gaz?
Yes. So don't take the car back to the future. Just keep it in the past and live out the rest of your days there as Biff.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't he likely to disappear from that timeline anyway? That's this is where my head started to hurt. Once that other timeline's invented, the future Biff wouldn't need to go back in time.
Yeah, he just.
So the way they describe it is for Jennifer, the timeline will switch around her and she'll join the better timeline.
Right.
Too much for
That's
my
because
little
she
brain.
took Jennifer out, right? Yeah.
Right.
We'll
Yeah.
cross that again.
Yeah. So similar thing. I think that Doc Brown, short of having a heart attack, he could just make another time machine.
Those plans were more diabolical than a truckload of manure dumped into a convertible. In summary, we had Darin's 12-step plan, my notepad plot, Craig's photocopier caper, Ben's car-crushing scheme, and Gaz's no future return trip plan. But there can only be between 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 people who can score a point in this episode, which means absolutely nothing. So with that in mind, could we all please cast our votes?
Again, I think that if you're going to destroy the car like Doc, yeah, he could always maybe invent another time machine. But I don't know. The ass kind of slid over all those qualms, I think. I don't even remember what the plan was.
Ass always assuages all of your
Just
concerns.
like it slid over the smooth shell of the photocopier.
That's right.
Congratulations, Craig.
Thank you.
Right. Craig, who have you voted for?
Well, Adam, because it was a plan so close to mine own heart, I voted for you, old chap.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, I have voted for the plan I thought would work quite well. I sort of already mentioned it, so I voted for Gaz.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Gaz, who have you voted for?
Well, as we all know, when I use my notes app, it comes at the end of a shopping list, and so this time round we've got bread, milk, corn ham, of course beer, Ben.
Wow, it's an even split so far. So
Ben's either going to be an even split or casting votes. What's it going to be, Ben?
Well, I've got the deciding vote, and I vote for the plan that gave me the best visual, and that was a fancy Trump-style hotel room with a crayon checklist. I vote for Darin.
Hey, everyone's a winner, baby.
Yeah. Even split. Circle
I just love that, like tacky gold. So then just a crayon checklist. It did make me chuckle.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Well done, everybody. Well done. Sure, we all deserved it in our own way. Darin, would you like to tell the listeners about your show and where they can find you?
Well, it's kind of hard now, right? Because everybody's abandoning Twitter. I know you guys are still on there, but like if you go on Blue Sky, if you go on, just look for NostalgiaCast, DW Lundberg. Twitter is still at DW Lundberg. And again, the show NostalgiaCast, me and my friend Johnny, we just take movies, kind of like we talked about at the beginning here. Like you guys talked about movies that you used to love, and then you watch them again, maybe from a different mood or a different time in your life. And it's different. And so that's the whole point. Is nostalgia a negative thing or is it a positive thing? Can you get past it? Does it feed everything? So that's the point of that show. And then me and my other friend Robert, we do have a show called Back to Bluey, where we take that the cartoon, Australian noodle cartoon Bluey, and his parents, his dads, we talk through every episode and how they've affected us, and not in order, but just we randomly choose these episodes, and it's a good uplifting. Both shows are good uplifting time, but yeah, it's I'm glad that these two shows, at least one of these shows, have made it into your guys' ears. So that's always a positive.
Yeah, I tried to get into Bluey, and I know dads who are into Bluey. But,
I know dads who are into Bluey.
I know dads
sadly,
into Bluey.
Is that like a grinder thing?
Yes. No, sadly, my daughter is not a fan of Bluey, so therefore we are not a Bluey household. And I like the idea of one day getting into Bluey. It's a nice show.
It'll get me.
Yeah,
it'll get you too, guys.
I have no strong opinion one way or the other.
Is it as good as Peppa Pig or Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom? That's what
I like those two.
Those are good.
Yeah. I like those.
I'm an elf.
It doesn't make you quite as uncomfortable because what Peppa Pig looks like a dick and balls, like your face. And the dad has some hair growing on his. It's weird.
It's intriguing character design, that show. Yeah, very weird. It's almost like South Park and the like paper cut out.
It's brilliant.
Almost.
There's so much in there for parents. It's great.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good show.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for being our guest this week.
Yeah, thanks, Darin.
Thank you guys so much. Listening to your show is like, sorry, this is the part where I blow smoke up your guys' ass. Like, this is such a cool idea for a show. And like I said, I was listening to this going, I've been asked to be part of this. You know, you got Nick DeSemlin, you've got Chris Tapley. It's like, and then like, I was glad to hear some American voices because your voices sound so, the only thing I could think of is it's kind of like if I did a podcast with 4 guys and then we had a 5th guy that just talked in a Southern accent. Like that would be the equivalent of this.
Now there's a podcast idea.
Well,
that's good. Yeah.
Maybe that's what we'll start doing from now on. Huh?
I say now, boy.
I say boy.
Only our Southern accent's going to sound like this. I'll be the Southern guy, but I'll be from Cornwall.
And that about wraps things up for another week. Thanks for listening. If this is your first time listening, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are also available across the socials on @DiabolicalPod. So until next time, dear listeners, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?